is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
The aftermath of every social revolution brings about change. Cultural norms and landmarks shift. As our minds and hearts expand beyond to everything, there is a season and a time to every purpose in the land of the living. This is our time to renew, revive, and restore the hope lost to the busyness of life. This is our time to dig again and rebuild from the storms of our past on a solid footing that holds. Welcome to The Foundation.
The Foundation.
The Foundation with Hearts Grants is brought to you by Alive, the Bahamas Liquidation Center, Bond for Bones, Burger King, Commonwealth Bank, Da Vinci Printing Innovators, Doctors Hospital, Epic Battery, Grand Bahama News, NACAC Athletics, Popeyes, Print Masters, and Ron's Electric Motors.
The Foundation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. 96.9 FM radio, Howard Grant in your company. The Foundation. It is a beautiful day, guys. I am grateful. I had a great opportunity to be able to hang out with my very good friends and new friends that I've met this morning over at Garden of Eden. I hanged out with Ephraim Jones, hanged out with Nan Rowe on his talk show, hanged out with Couture. Had a great opportunity to be able to talk about national positions, growth and development, had participation. Great guys in the place. Got to be able to shout out Commodore King, who's in the place, being able to do those things. Guys, I am truly grateful to even be mentioned in that kind of a space, to have that sort of an invitation. It was a great opportunity. Sat there and I said to myself, maybe the foundation need to do something like this. Ephraim says to me, Howard, come on. Howard, come on. So I'm grateful to do that, guys. Had a great opportunity. Had some stew fish this morning, something that we don't normally do on weekday mornings. But we're grateful for that opportunity to kind of sit in here and to break bread with the brethren and talk about national growth and progression, our position, our consciousness, to be able to move forward and do those things. So I'm grateful to kind of do that. And I want to be able to kind of bring some of that energy here and have those conversations today. I got to shout out my good, decent people over at Da Vinci. Da Vinci Printing and Innovators, they got everything laid out for you. Make sure you go and check them out, DaVinciPrinting242.com, DaVinciPrinting242.com. You can be able to find them. They are at the Village Road Shopping Plaza, right there at the intersection of Village Road, Burnett Road, Wolf Road, and Soldier Road. They have everything laid out for you. If you have sort of a silhouette of an idea, scribbles in your mind, sort of an idea that you want to do some stuff, you need to be able to put graphics to it. It's not good enough, it doesn't pop. Go down there to Da Vinci's Printing and Innovators. They can be able to assist you in many, many ways in being able to present this professional thing. Put that on paper and let us see the tangibility of that thing just shine. Do that, man. Go check them out. Innovators, DaVinciPrinting242.com, and they can be able to assist you. Let them know that Howard Grant sent you down there and you're ready to make this thing happen, right? So it's a beautiful day, guys. Check out my good friends over at AFS Insurance Agents and Brokers. I always tell you about them. They are looking for people in administration. If you are looking for a job, if you're looking for something to do, if you are a summer student and you need some things to do, go check out my good friend Ephraim Jones, Ethric Bow, and Ethric can be able to assist you in those particular areas as it relates to occupation, and he is going to train you. All right, so it doesn't matter your time that you're there, he will train you and prepare you. He may want you to get involved in insurance one day real soon, and prepare you to go take the test. So that's really the type of person he is. Go check them out over at AFS Insurance Agents and Brokers, 341-1AFS, 341-1AFS. Ethric Bow, he can be able to assist you in those areas. Just let him know they're open on Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and on Saturdays they're open until 2 p.m. So go check them out. They can take very, very good care of you. Guys, make sure you pick up your Guardian newspaper. Things are thickening up. Can I say that, right? We are seeing things become more concentrate as we're dealing with a lot of national issues and trying to identify how do we find our way out of this proverbial bush into a true sense of productivity on the path that we've been called for. Check out the Guardian newspaper. All the information's in there this morning. BPL managers on the outside looking in. Worries persist on job security. This is one of the things that we've actually spoke of for a very long time. When we start having a new era in energy, a new dispensation. And this is what I said when I had a conversation about Mr. Kyle Wilson. Not necessarily about him, but about how do we keep our legacy intact? How do we know the time that we're in? I mean, come on, let's just be sensitive about what's going on. Let's understand that we can't be gung-ho and so focused on the tree that we cannot see the evolution of the forest. Can I say that? Do you understand where I'm coming from like this? You can't be so gung-ho on what has always existed without understanding that everything that existed simultaneously is changing. The inevitability of your sector changing, it was just right around the corner. And the only thing that you needed to do in your capacity to be able to solidify your legacy and to say that you've left holistically at everything and say, hey, listen, these guys are going to get themselves prepared for a new era, a new dispensation, a new course in energy. Conversations have amplified even from times of LNG. Conversations have amplified, and it's time for us to be able to identify how we, as a union, will ensure that we're preparing those persons who are working in this particular capacity for what's to come. I just want to say that. This ain't nothing to do with Kyle Wilson as an individual, but this is, and I know a lot of persons just take that like that, but this is for the seat. This ain't got nothing to do with you as an individual. I don't know Kyle Wilson from that particular perspective. I couldn't levy any, even constructive criticisms against him, but I can say that this is what expectations are from the seat. The seat has the responsibility to be sensitive to the times that we live in. The seat got to say something had changed. The seat got to be able to identify with representatives and the executives, the advisors, and say, we need about 30 acres of property. We need to identify a training institute. We need to have conversations strategically to identify partnerships and prepare our people for what's coming. We will be left behind. None of us can get paid. Nobody can pay unions. All these things are going to happen if we don't take the step and safeguarding our future. Government's responsibility is to be able to bring smiles to the people's face, to secure them, to provide them a sense of alleviation. Accessibility to this modernization, to these particular things. However, it needs to be alleviated. Every leader in the country needs to start looking at this. We've heard Belinda take on a very strong position of being able to identify these things from her capacity as the Bahamas Union of Teachers president. But even that sector is changing significantly. Do you remember a time ago that we were having conversations about, this was maybe early 90s? Oh yeah, boy. Soon, boy, computers can be taking over your job. Do you remember we were starting having this kind of World Trade Organization, the WTO, right? We started to have this kind of a conversation, I think it was early 90s, about the WTO. Even gas, I thought it was so, as I look back on it now, I thought it was very, very grassroots and an insignificant conversation that happened amongst the spaces that I existed in schools and so forth and so on, that didn't give you enough information about what WTO is about. What came to school in the early 90s, I was in the 6th and 7th grade. What came to the schools were, well, you can't even get a job at the gas station. Man, they can let people in from other countries and even the pump attendant. This is the stupidness. It's the foolishness what travels down. This is what matriculates through our society and travels down to the ears of young people. No one's explaining anything to you. We don't know about this. But we've been having conversation about shifting in our society for a very long time. Listen, we've been talking about change, and we haven't seen that thing. So much just like the church. The church has been hearing about Jesus is coming back so soon, and they never see the eastern skies crack, so you don't believe He's coming no more. And you dive into your own pleasures. Talk to me. Oh, my God. We just get deep too quick, too fast. But we can do this today. The lines are open. I want you to be able to join me on the second hour. We're going to be able to have Dave Beckford in the studio with us. He is one of the union vice presidents, and he's going to be talking to us about a few aspects of things that's happening from that particular perspective. We're going to have to find out whether or not leadership in this country that's not always falling on a new dispensation of living in the Bahama land. The new day is more than just a motto introduced to you by the PLP that wanted to be able to give you sort of a ring and a desire to move towards them. The new day is here. And it has been here for some time. You were just late getting up. As you now yawn and seek to be able to crack open the curtains in this dark, dreary room of your imagination in the space that you exist, as you move out and seek to matriculate throughout the Bahamas, you would realize that things ain't the same no more. Now, the question is whether or not you are in your right mind to understand. We have to align ourselves, prepare ourselves, strengthen ourselves, and ensure that we can empower the next generation so we can remain buoyant, that we can exist in this country. Because they're coming by boat, they're coming by plane, they're coming in wheelchair and walking with cane. And this is not for regatta. My God, this ain't for homecoming. This is for your land. This is for your children's place in this society. This is for your inheritance. This is for your birthright. They are coming for it. Because the world has taken a stance. The world has taken a stance. Everything is increasing. All these things are happening the world over. The question is, are you prepared? Let's talk like this today, ladies and gentlemen. 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, anywhere from the family of islands, 242-300-5720. Hit me up, 422-4796. Quick commercial break. Be right back after this.
Foundation.
Doctors Hospital has reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. We understand that your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnoses and true personalized treatment begins. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshosp.com.
Bonneville Bones, established in 1970, is the leader in men's fashion in the Bahamas. We're conveniently located in the mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza, and fully stocked with everything you need for all occasions. Our Harbor Bay location is one door north of Alive. Both locations are open from 10 to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Bonneville Bones and Bonneville Boutique, still the leader in men's fashion. Located in the mall at Marathon and the Harbor Bay Shopping Plaza.
Now let me see now. 326 EPIC. Hello? This Epic battery. This Miss Beulah from around the corner. I hear you're selling tires now on Wolf Road too.
Praise the Lord. It's about time. I live Fox Hill and Fire Trail. It's too far.
That ain't all. They open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sunday and holiday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My brother Sam, he's a hacker, and he could go right there and get fixed up.
Call us at 326 EPIC. We ship also to the Family Island.
We all know that our country's electricity infrastructure is decades old. It is breaking down, it is too expensive, and it cannot transmit clean energy. Small changes aren't enough. We are taking it all on. Upgrading and modernizing the grid. Solar power. Major energy reform. That's how we get to lower prices and more reliable electricity. It will not happen overnight, but it will be game-changing.
Go to newenergyera.gov.bs to learn more.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose the online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio, Howard Grant and your company, live and in full effect, just talking about whether or not leadership is prepared to take us to where we need to go. From every perspective, I think we've put a highlight, sort of the spotlight on leadership from a political standpoint, to identify persons from that vantage point and really scrutinize them and providing constructive criticism, let's be decent, right? About what they've done, what they can't do, what there needs to be done, and whether or not they're prepared to do those particular things, right? And that's across the board. FNM, PLP, independents, everyone, all in sundry, we throw you on this umbrella and we start to have this sort of a conversation about where we need to go in the country. But one of the things that we've kind of avoided, right, unless these things come up, is to find out whether or not leadership in every subsector and other divisions that support central government, that support sort of the administration of the existence of the Bahama lands, are these people, right? Are these minds in this particular space prepared to do that, right? And today, we're going to have this kind of a conversation. You see that the Prime Minister has paid for slots. Listen to me. The Office of the Prime Minister has paid for advertisements to let you know that it's a new energy era, that it may not necessarily happen overnight, but it's going to be a game changer. And this is heavy stuff. This is heavy stuff. I believe him. I believe him in this particular capacity, that this is a new day agenda to identify how we can transform this. We have been knocking at this for a very long time. And while this may be an archaic approach, an outdated approach as it relates to being able to incorporate LNG, we've had these conversations before. Yesterday we've mentioned it about the fact that we've seen John Boswick being able to introduce this at one point, and even prior to that, we would have been able to see Leslie Miller take on a position of being able to introduce LNG to these spaces. This has happened years ago. Now we've caught up with it. Now the burden has become too much and we've caught up with it. And this new day administration has sought to be able to fix that, to remedy that, by being able to forge relationships that will be significantly scrutinized. I might as well tell you, we're going to go into it. We're doing our studies right now. I'm doing mine to be able to involve in those particular things and searching for more and more information as to whether or not this is going to be above board. We know that the philosophy that exists within the organization is not to provide us a freedom of information. We ain't going to fight you for that. But my God, we can get the information. And it sounds like we may have to pay. But I'm not going to fight you. We're going to bring that information to the forefront. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to find out the SWOT analysis, the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats of us going into business with Pike. Let's talk about it. This is what we're going to do. And if it's only a percentage for Pike, then what is the percentage? What is the reciprocity? What are we giving to get something? These are the things that we're talking about. Now in the papers, you could tear open the papers today. Like I said, guys, check out the Guardian newspaper. BPL managers on the outside looking and worries persist at job security. This is peculiar. This is peculiar. This is peculiar. You don't have to worry about that. Some people are going to lose their job in the event that they're not prepared to be able to move towards what needs to happen. We've already seen this with the introduction of what has happened at the heels of COVID-19, as the Ministry of Education had to take on a position to be able to do remote learning. There were teachers in the school that did not understand the computers, that have been teaching for years. And because of this kind of a new thing that was rushed upon them, they were not prepared, and it felt like they were lagging behind. It did a disservice to them, and it kind of amplified their inadequacies. It did a disservice to the students who were lagging behind and were, light years ahead of the teacher in terms of what needs to be done. And it did a disservice to the country at large. Many of those teachers stepped back. They stepped back. And this is where we're seeing NHI take on this kind of a position as to whether or not NHI, NIB, take on this position as to whether or not we should increase the retirement years to 67. There's no need to do that. There's no need to do that. There's no need to do that. When I'm 65, 60, I just want to be able to drink coffee. If I could have coffee during that time, God spare my life, and have conversations. If you ask me to be on a board, if you ask me to be able to do this, if I have the health and strength, me and my wife, traveling, you think I got time to be worrying about how I can pay for this and that? No, I don't have time for that. I have already worked in my youth. But it's so expensive to live in this country. They make us owners. That's the issue that we have in this country. You've never thought about making me an owner. I only eat what I could kill with my hands. And if I could only eat when I can kill with my hands, my God, the day I stop eating or the day I stop working with my hand is when I die. No one wishes for you to depend on them. We are not owners. This service industry is not being able to support us futuristically. We need to figure out a way to be able to get 9.6 million people coming into the country, $1 from each one of them annually, and put it into a pension fund. We need to figure these things out. We need to figure out how to get money out of these people's pockets and put it into a pension fund so we can have a 401k for our Grammy. Because she cannot live over $628 a month. She should not, for what Grammy and Granddaddy suffered, endured, and sacrificed for us to be able to have the education, the exposure, and the opportunities that we have in life. We should not try to feed them porridge when they was born and when they die. And my God, you ought to give twice a child a new meaning. And these casual conversations that you're having out in the public, we can hear you, You closer to 67 than most. These particular leaders who are having these conversations with us. And you're not considering where we are. I still say, purchase the hotel. I still say that. As an example. As a shining example. And make the Bahamian people a part of it. Let us buy into it. That could be our retirement right there. Our dividends check, our this, our that. We have to figure out a way to make us owners in our society. Let me take a telephone call. Caller on the line with us live. Thank you so much for holding. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Grant. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing, my brother?
All right, Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, I mean, the thing about it, before I get it, since you was talking about the information that y'all are going to gather about this whole BPL thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'd be good to know. I mean, I'm going to tell you no lie. It'd be good to know about it. But, knowing about it might just even anger us more. You know what I mean? I mean, we should be able to take that information and do something with it,
I'd rather be mad, but I can know it.
Yeah, I mean, boy, look, I think in this case, I already know something going down what I don't like. I think I rather, if I can't do nothing about it, I think I rather don't know nothing.
You wasted me. Let me tell you.
Let
me tell you why. I tell my wife, I said years and years and years ago, I've been married 21 years. I said that, baby, if you ever decide to step on me, don't tell me. I don't need to know these people.
See, you understand where I come from.
I don't need to know this.
Not to know.
I said, even when me and you die and we stand before Jesus Christ, I don't want him to tell me that because me and your spirit will be fighting up there.
You understand where I come from?
Yeah, but sometimes we got to know, though.
You get my point. You get my point, Mr. Grant. But seeing that you were talking about leadership, right? And you was talking about it in every aspect, right? I heard Ms. Green said something earlier on her show. as regards to the union leaders. And I mean, I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to really hear which one she was talking about. And I think I hear you say you're going to be talking to some union leader in the second half of your show.
Yeah, second half.
And she said something about union leaders signing some, what they call a memorandum of understanding, MOU or something with the government, that they pledged to not have any type of industrial action for 3 years, right? Now, I mean, what I want to know, I want to know what your feelings about that is, right? I want to know when the individual comes in. I mean, if they are not a part of it, or if they are a part of it, I want to know like how they feel about it, and if that's a sellout, right? You know what I mean? Because industrial action is a mechanism that unions use to get things done when there's a stalled process, or when the government refuses to act in a manner that they feel as if they should, that is beneficial to the union, right? So I mean that's like taking the teeth out of the dog's mouth, right? But another since you're talking about leadership and you was talking about it on every level, right? From the civil society aspect now, right? Like civil, like individuals, regular individuals who have an understanding or say, well, could say this is that or this thing that, because I heard you talk about the independence not being one that's genuine, right? So why should we participate in something that we know is not genuine, right? As a leaders, let's take a stand and let's demand that if we're going to celebrate independence, let us make the changes necessary to make it a true one, and then let's celebrate it. But until then, let us boycott the process, because then that we only participating and perpetuating the circus. You know, the kind of way. Let us start to call a spade, and sometimes things are black and white and not gray. Let's operate on that basis. Let's demand change by not only demanding it and like that, but let's start to act out when we can. Let us contribute by our actions to change the process. You know what I mean? But like I said, when the union man come, I'd appreciate if you could check that question about the MOU and stuff like that. But good show, Mr. Grant.
Thank you,
man. Like I say, sometimes some things, if you can't do nothing good with information, and if only can make you more upset, it's best not to know. You know what I mean? Have a good day, Mr. Grant.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so very kindly for that. I won't be able to touch one or two things as it relates to this. I got to find out more information about the memorandum of understanding. I should know that. Let me read up about those particular things. But for a very long time, that we've seen that there has been sort of a stagnation that exists between productivity from the union and the government standpoint. Now, when Nicole Martman was in her particular stead, I remember being at and I'm talking about hotel union. I remember being at the hotel, right? I remember the actions that were taken by then by the management of the hotel, and I remember the actions or the counteractions that the union has taken. Now, for a very long time, the union has enjoyed, from an industrial standpoint, from a written standpoint, constitutional, the laws that exist that govern both the union and the hotel and how it should be done. The union enjoyed this kind of unrestricted access to the property, to its members. It enjoyed this kind of free-flowing access into that space. But some things happen over the course of time, right? Things happen where the hotel identified some persons who were sticklers, and they were penny pinchers. And anywhere that they thought there was a leak, both literally, whether physically, literally, proverbially, or otherwise, they would actually plug those leaks. And from the union standpoint, they indicated that there was a leak thereof. And so this led to a lot of stagnation that existed in this particular space. And as a result so go ahead and ask me, I believe that the union's position across the board in the country has been weakened at this particular point. I believe that. I believe unions across the country have been weakened. That's one. Secondly, the motivation for union leaders. Now, I'm not calling no specific names. I'm just saying the era that we've seen this kind of a fire and tenacity that was presented at the forefront, that fire has diminished significantly over the course of time in union representation, right? That fire and the intellect, oh God, I really don't want you to believe that I mean any one specific person. I'm just contrasting the eras, the times. The intellect, the articulation, the familiarity with union laws, bylaws, and positions that existed in yesteryear, when you compare the union leaders now, it's pale in comparison. Does that make sense to you? Right? They don't necessarily have the same vigor, and they're not prepared for this dispensation. So when you see the memorandum of understanding, it's only because when you walk into a negotiation, I often say this to you, you should never walk and show your vulnerability. If you already show your timidity with the fact that you're not stern on these particular positions, if you haven't done your homework and crossed your T's and dot your I's, there are wolves that exist here to chop these things down. This is business. This is not casual. This is not a cultural event. This is business, because real money involved with this, not monopoly money. So let's shoot straight. If the union has taken on a position that indicate that they'll have no industrial action for 3 years in the event that these particular things happen, it says to me that the government has almost a free hall pass for 3 years. Within the confines of their specific leadership, they could now come on campaign stages and say, we've forged these relationships and the union hasn't said anything for 3 years. Is because we, this government, had satisfied them. We've done this, we've done that, we've done all these particular things. But it was a negotiation. Because of your desperation and your broken state, you accepted anything. Not understanding your strength. Not understanding your position. Unions are not designed to be able to bow to the pressures of these particular things. And John Pinder is one of the persons I would want to be able to speak to. Also, I had a great opportunity to be able to speak to him when I was at the F&M convention. Because the fact of the matter is this. Both John Pinder, both Shane Gibson, these men found their way at frontline politics as a result of during a time that they sat representing a body of people. Let's shoot straight with this. If there are conversations happening behind the scenes, if you do such and such, so forth and so on, you could be able to find yourself in a position of leadership from a national perspective and elongate your career. Just make sure you don't go hard on us. My God! How can people ever get true representation? Let's just be decent. I only want to talk decent with you. These people are my friends. I ain't fighting them. I ain't getting against them. They made decisions for them and their family. But what about the decision for the preservation of the constitution of the organization that you represent? The body of people that afforded you an opportunity to be able to stand in this position. There's no loyalty anymore. There's no conviction. There's only looking out for me. So I want to be able to talk like that and be as decent as possible as we do this, right? It may be difficult, but I think it's important. Let me take a next telephone call before we get out of here. Go ahead, call.
Howard, how are you doing? Cialan Johnson.
Hey, what's up, Cialan?
Yeah. Hey, Howard, you know the truth needs no explanation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have somebody continuously explaining to you what they say to you, it must be what? Not the truth.
Okay.
If I say, what's your name? And you say to me, Kenneth, and then you start explaining, well, everything else is this, whatever, then it's simply so simple for you to say, my name is Howard Grant.
Mm-hmm.
And so it requires no explanation. It's done, it's absolute. And so this is where we are. But here's what happens is this. When you ask, what does it take for the development of the Bahamas? And I'm saying to you, you know, if you ask me to just give you 6 words to say what it takes to take the Bahamas into the 21st century, do you know what those 6 words will be?
Give me it. I'm writing them down right now. Go, 1.
F&M, F&M, F&M.
Jesus
Pintad,
Christ.
Pintad, Pintad.
You're doing a lot, sir. You're doing a lot.
Now, Howard, let's talk about energy.
Let me hear it.
Energy is a fundamental enabler of economic growth, social progress, and human development in the 21st century. We are 23 years. January 1st of 2001 began it. 23 years in, you talked about what it takes, and these things were the economic growth, and which was the major disruptions of the 21st century, which we have not been able to adapt to. One of the major things is energy. But when you look at the global shift concerning technological disruption, you know, first of all, Howard, I don't know, most Bahamians may not know that the government have a word of using innovation and disruption, not understanding that they're not necessarily wanting to change, but their disruption is innovation. All disruption is innovation, but not all innovation is disruption. And so the problem is that we have these government that is so used at using these words as buzzwords, but none of them wants to bring an economic strategy so Bahamians can see how they for themselves can integrate themselves into our economy, meaning they have to bring the template for the ecosystem and Bahamians will plant themselves in it. The problem is you have not heard that in the last 21 years. And that is the problem. Let's use an example. I know you talk about BPL, and oftentimes I have people refer to the BTC deal. Okay? Now, there's a guy named Kirkwood Farquharson. Kirkwood Farquharson and I, who brought the attention of the BTC seal to the Bahamian people that led to the march on Bay Street before it was hijacked by other individuals for political and other means. He and I never got to finish talk about what we saw. We was talking about another method for which BTC could be privatized for the benefit of Bahamians. We never got that conversation. Again, we're asking again, for those of us who's aware, to let us have a conversation on how it can be done best for the people. But let me tell you one thing, the positive thing about the BTC. It opened the door for us to flip the switch. The problem is the individual BTC. I was not one of those because I understand what was done and I understand what was left. You understand? Hello?
Yeah, I'm right here. See, Alan, you go. See, Alan, I want to be able to hear more about what you have to say. I got the lines lit right up. I got to take this telephone call. I got to take this commercial break. I'm sorry. Guys, quick commercial break. We'll get right back. We'll dive into these particular conversations to find out whether or not leadership is prepared. Leadership has a mindset, has on the armor, right? Futuristic armor, understanding the battle that we're going through to retain this position and to revive the future. Let's just be able to see that, guys. Quick commercial break. Going to be right back after this.
The foundation.
Doctors Hospital has reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. We understand that your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnoses and true personalized treatment begins. With locations Grand Bahama and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at clinics.doctorshosp.com.
Contact Da Vinci Printing Innovators today for all your printing needs. Customized receipt books, NCR forms, invitations, event tickets, program booklets, business and ID cards, flyers, posters, and banners. There's scanning, printing, lamination, and binding services. Also, a variety of office supplies. No design, no problem. Dedicated graphic designers are ready to serve you. Da Vinci Printing Innovators, located in the Village Road Shopping Plaza. Stop in or call 677-2922 or browse services online at www.davinciprinting242.com, where printing is an art.
It's Whopper Wednesday every Wednesday at Burger King Nassau. Make your Wednesday sizzle and sink your teeth into a flame-grilled beef patty topped with tomatoes, fresh-cut lettuce, mayo, pickles, ketchup, and sliced onions, all on a toasted sesame seed bun with fries for only $5.95, including VAT. This Whopper Wednesday, grab a friend and head down to your favorite BK Nassau location for a flame-grilled Whopper made your way with crisp fries for only $5.95. Burger King Nassau, where taste is king.
Bahamas Liquidation and Auction Center, your friendly and affordable vendor one-stop shop, where you can get all of your groceries, kids' lunch snacks, and vendor snacks items at the best prices in town. Don't believe us? Find us on Market Street in the red, white, and black building south of Chesapeake Road. We don't stock anything, we just buy deals, so you better get there first. Call us today at 698-557-2522 or follow us on Facebook and Instagram for daily updates. Remember, always make us your first stop.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation. Foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant and your company, the foundation, just talking about these particular things. I just want to be decent as I talk about this and talk about the responsibilities that we hold near and dear, right? I just have to scratch my head and figure out how I'm going to approach these conversations without offending, without specificity, without being able to call particular names. How do we approach these things? How do I say this for the relationships I have to retain those without having people be offended that I mean you, I mean your seat and the responsibility thereof? No, how would you mean me? Oh, Jesus. So that's a big route. You understand? Even if we have not seen it in this generation, there is a bar that was set. There's a constitution that exists. There is a standard that is required. My God. When you get in your car in your States, you got your seatbelt on, your hand on 10 and 2. It don't care if you have learned to recline home. Nobody care about that. You know how you're supposed to act. And so when you talk about these things, it's never to offend an individual. It's really to be able to amplify the fact that we need to push past this brush and the love vine that continue to be able to suck the life out of our society and the morality that exists in this particular capacity. Let's push past that. Chop those things down and get back to the path for true sense of growth and development. That's all I want to do. And all I'm saying to you, as I look as a father and make a determination with my children that I cannot lend the type of discipline that I would have got. And my father shouldn't lend the type of discipline that he got from his father. That every dispensation should have to have some sort of evolution. Not necessarily moving so far off from the foundation, the base of principle that exists in this space, but how we execute should reflect the time that we're in. I just want to be decent as I say that. And so I ask the same questions about leadership. Whether or not leadership that you need to reflect the community that you represent. Because none of this is happening. Anybody who working right now for BPL driving electric car should know that there was an inevitable change that should happen. Come on, somebody talk to me. I can't even get no amen. BPL have electric cars. Fossil fuel and the combustion used to fuel, that's how they get paid. And the transition is inevitable. They participated in the change. So if you're participating in this particular end, my God, when the big change come and the grid change and this change and that change to ensure that there is harmony in our community, you shouldn't be left behind. That's all I say. And not to fight you, but to talk easy. Let me take a telephone call if we get out of here. Caller, go ahead.
How you doing, Howard?
Hey, what's up, Graham?
Let me give you some fun facts. When I plug my electric car in, it uses as much energy as 40 100-watt old-school light bulbs.
My God.
Now, you understand that's 4 kW, 4,000 watts. So imagine if we plugged a bunch of those in to a generation company that already can't keep my refrigerator. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a quick solution. You float in 2 power barges. They come in with liquid gas, staff, fuel. And John Boswick, I believe, said you can lower your light bill to half price, 12 cents a kilowatt hour within a few months. Mm-hmm. See how quick that was?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start training our people to put solar on every rooftop, right? At BTVI, to drop that bill down in half again. You know, our Prime Minister said there was $400 million spent on fuel for generation on 60 Minutes, just last administration. So if we were to take 25% of that into renewable energy, that's $100 million a year saved.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that's the money to pay the people to start solarizing the Bahamas. Because if you did borrow a few dollars to do it, you got a savings for the rest of your life to pay it off. You know, as I've told you, I rudely reject what they're going to do to you young people. It's so sad. And I'm not seeing. And C. Allen said, party, 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 man, man, man. Listen, stop that, C. Allen. It's about time to fix the Bahamas. And it's not about one individual or the collective parties that did not do it in 50 years. Look, Dubai, Qatar, Singapore, Malaysia, these people built mega cities in a few decades. We've had 50 years, C. Allen, and you in Freeport. If I was in Freeport, I'd have caused so much havoc politically that they would have fixed that place. Stinking hospital, Howard, in the country?
Well, they have one stinking one. They had like a
No,
black
not
water.
one new one.
Oh, okay, good. Go ahead.
Not a new hospital for your people? But you care and love about me, and the health of a nation is the wealth of a nation. I grew up listening to that on the TV station my whole life with one channel. Are we serious? So, Howard, if they wanted you to have solar, if they wanted you to have electric cars charged by the sun so you was rolling for free, that I did it a long time ago now. See, I've done it for, almost 7 years now? I don't talk it. I do it, and then I talk it. Because no one can come to me and say, use this or that. Come and watch it working. At the end of the day, the sad reality is they all know about it, but they have not done it for you, sir. And if there's going to be a party come up in my face saying we could do it next time, well, next time is a comfort to a fool. Okay? You either, as C. Allen said, C. Allen was correct. You know how to do it and you didn't, or you don't know how to do it. Either way, it's a crying shame.
Wow.
Howard, let's fix the Bahamas before it's too late. It's easy to do, though. You have a good one, eh?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to have these kind of a conversation with you. When we get back on the other side, you're going to be joined by Dave Beckford, being able to talk to us about from a union standpoint and talk about this kind of an idea of what the expectations could be well into the future. But I want to talk about this, man. Even as we start to talk about electric cars and how long they've been existing and so forth and so on, we should be the beta testing for these people. Come on, man. All this is your first production of these particular cars. You produce 10,000 cars. You identify strategic persons that can be able to ensure that we can provide you the data associated with saying how the cars work on these terrible roads in the Bahamas, but we have constant sunlight. These are easy things. These ain't hard. All it takes is words and communication and relationship. Get 10,000 of them and bring it. But y'all ain't want to do that. Y'all ain't want to do that. Y'all ain't want to wake. You ain't want to use your brain, but you won't get paid. Anyway, let's take this quick commercial break, guys. You're going to do that, go to news, and be right back after this.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Stay informed with the Nassau Guardian, your news delivered. Are you tired of chasing down the latest news? Why not have it delivered right to your doorstep? The Nassau Guardian is now offering an unbeatable home delivery service. Special subscription rates. 3 months, just $44.80. 6 months, only $79.52. 1 year, an amazing value at $143.36. Your daily news fix all year round. Don't miss out on this opportunity to keep up with the international news, sports, business, and entertainment. Subscribe today. Call us at 302-2360 or 302-2353. Our friendly staff is waiting to assist you with your subscription. The Nassau Guardian. We've got the news you need. Don't wait. Call now and let us bring the world to your door.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio, Howard Grant and your company. I'm joined by Bahamas General Workers Union, the vice president in that particular capacity, none other than Dave Beckford, being able to talk to us about these things, and definitely Brian Smith. I'm so happy to have you guys in the studio, man. Introduce yourself, let them know who you are, your capacity, the union, the expectations of what you have, so forth and so on. Dave, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. It's good afternoon, Bahamas. Indeed a pleasure to be on your show. I am telling you, I'm one of your fans. I listen to your show regularly. Again, my name is Dave. My name is Dave Beckford. I am vice president of General Workers Union and a former presidential candidate for the hotel union. Can't forget my hotel people. But the General Workers Union, I think we've been in existence now from 2002. We are a small union in terms of membership, but our vision is to become the largest union in this country, which we know that we will be able to accomplish. We currently represent BTVI, BAIC, and the workers at Bahama Waste. I also want to say a pleasant good afternoon to our members at BTVI in Freeport, Grand Bahama, and Eleuthero. And I want to say a pleasant good afternoon to the executives of the Bahamas General Workers Union. A pleasant good afternoon to our president, Ms. Linda Sands.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. Good afternoon, Bahamas. My name is Brian Smith, and I'm currently the treasurer of the Bahamas General Workers Union.
Yeah. I want to talk to you all about this because we then start to have this kind of a conversation. The unions are in the picture. The unions are, put your mic close to your mouth so we can talk, right? The unions are in the picture. All right. And now you talked about this kind of Bahamas General Workers Union. Tell me more specifically before we get into any specifics, right? Tell me about the Bahamas General Workers Union. You say you forged that. You started that back in 2002.
Yeah.
Right? What was the reason that you, some 22 years ago, that was given birth?
Well, going back further, Sir Randall Fox, he had a General Workers Union back then. So what is so unique and special about our union is that, like you have the hotel union that represents hotel workers, you have Belinda Union that represents teachers, and Kyle Wilson that represents BP. We can represent any category of workers. It doesn't matter what you do. The general workers can represent you, and that's what kind of makes us special as a general workers union. And so, like I say, we have a great future ahead of us, and our plan is to become the largest union in this country. So the general workers union, we're not just here for any specific workers. We can represent all. It doesn't matter what you do. General workers can represent you.
How have you grown in 22 years? How has the membership? I see that you said you got BTVI, you got BAIC, you have Bahama Waste, right? These three major companies in the country, most definitely, two attached to the government, and one is an independent company being able to do these things.
Right.
How have you grown? Whether that's in popularity, whether that's in your stance and position, whether that's in the strengthening of your conviction over the 22 years?
Well, Ms. Howard, like you said earlier, first of all, it was really a challenge to union registered. Mr. President Obie Ferguson of the TUC and Dr. Thomas Bastian worked hard to make sure that this union, first of all, could exist. And then there was years of negotiating and trying to get an industrial agreement in place, particularly at BTVI, where we signed a historical industrial agreement. It was the first industrial agreement that was signed. And then even with Bahama Waste, that was a long, you're talking about, I think, 6 years. Six years before we were able to actually get an agreement signed. So while the union existed, there was challenges trying to even get an industrial agreement in place. Also, I want to say a pleasant good afternoon to Mr. Obie Ferguson of the Commonwealth Bahamas Trade Union Congress. We are affiliates of his union.
So, over this course of time, because I'm just thinking, I'm going with you. I want to have this conversation with you. I see the lines are lit up. Guys, let's get a bass up before we can be able to do that. I want to talk about these things. Before you came into the studio, I started to talk about, and I can shoot straight with you. Before you came in the studio, I started to talk about the fact that the vigor, the necessity, the fire that existed in the unions back in the day that persons would run into and knew that there was representation, that people had their interests at heart, that flame kind of was watered. It lost its glow over the course of time, maybe 30 years, maybe 40 years. This dispensation of people, young people who are getting into the work field with new modifications to contracts, with hotels that have been closed down entirely. Let's talk now. Let's talk. They shut the whole hotel down. Every agreement that existed ain't nothing no more. They wait a couple months and then they open it back. Y'all ain't in the streets yet. I don't understand what's going on in the country. We talking? Or again too far? Let's talk. They then shut the whole thing down. Everything gone. And so when you look at the union, quietly in your mind, whether you say it out loud or in your little small group, what the union for? What it's going to do for me? Is it
Well-
going to be able to provide me what I need to safeguard my future as I work for these people? Talk to me about it.
Well, Howard, first of all, let me say that we need to continue to educate our members and the workers that the Constitution, our Constitution, gives them the right to form and join a trade union. Many workers do not know that they have a right to join a union for the protection. And at the end of the day, it's all about education. Now, I'll give you a case where, in the case of Sandals, where...
Now, I ain't called nobody name, but I like what you did there. Go ahead.
But you know, what happened there was a tragedy. I tell you, President Obie Ferguson is still not happy about that, and he's working to make sure that we correct that. But as you know, the case was nullied, and that ended there.
I know.
All right? So I'm not saying that we are not... We need to do some more work. We need to be more forceful. To me, union is pressure. Now, let me give another example. One of the reasons why I run for president of the hotel union, because as a member and a former chief shop steward at Atlantis, I felt that the union was not doing what they should have done. For example, failing to even submit a proposal to the Employers Association on time. The representation I felt was not up to par. So you have some individual unions.
This heavy what you're saying, but
Yeah,
Dave, this heavy what you're saying
Yeah.
because I've watched, and I said this before you come in the studio. Just because if you was listening to me, I said these things. I can say it again. The caliber of individuals who represented the union back in the day, these people were savvy. They knew your industrial agreement.
Right.
They knew the Constitution. They knew what the hotel could do. They knew back and forth. You couldn't tell them nothing. Now you identify loudmouth people. Not in a bad way. I ain't
I understand exactly what
I just
you're
want to be
saying.
decent, right? Loudmouth, but they don't have no substance. They ain't studied these things. They just want, tell me what to say, and they scream that with no understanding. Has the union identified that the type of leadership, have you gone into a position where you're now almost trying to recruit the type of people that you need to represent in this particular space?
Well, I can't say if we've gone into recruit. I know that there are some things we can do better. Let's remember that it's the union that created the middle class. And,
Middle class, which is now non-existent.
Non-existent,
And let's be
right?
decent about this.
All right?
Let's be decent.
And so we also have to appreciate a lot of the benefits that we enjoy today. Holiday pay, maternity benefit. I mean, there's a lot of things that was done. And so again, I think we just have to work a little harder. We have to educate the workforce as to purpose of the union.
I feel like this,
You know?
if anything could unify the unions, when you're having your marches and there's various unions, if anything, the one thing that should be able to unify y'all is your money. And you cannot sustain your money. You cannot sustain that pay. This won't be decent. You cannot sustain payment if people can't see value for money.
Well, I agree.
Okay, so locally, the government has taken on a position. The former administration has taken on this position to be able to introduce into our psyche, into our consciousness, that there should always be value for money.
Yes.
And almost every inflection, people look and say, "Well, I spending this money. What's the value of this?"
Well, I agree with you. It's like you hiring a lawyer and he's not giving you proper representation. You change the lawyer.
But you paying him a retainer straight. This man still got your money.
So you got to change him, right?
Oh, good talk.
But let's, I must say, this government and all is not perfect and all is not well. But when I compare the Davis administration, and I do have a copy of the MOU, when Mr. Davis was in opposition, that MOU was presented to all political parties, by the way. And so the PLP, which was led by the opposition leader at the time, Mr. Philip Brave Davis, they signed an MOU.
As an organization.
Right, as an organization.
They wasn't in government yet.
Yeah, but that
was crazy to me.
That was the result of if they had won, which they did win, was they now have to live up to that MOU, and to some degree they have. The Prime Minister said that he's pro-union.
Which degree? Is it 90 degree or 45?
No. Listen. Like I said, I don't think that everything is being solved. But when you look at the former administration, who even refused to even meet with the union, there's no industrial agreements.
My God, you throw Minutes under the bus again. How much time you can lose in 1 week?
But yes, I am certain that come next election cycle, that other party will be meeting with trade unions.
Is this something that you think should be? Is this something that you think should be a practice going forward? Has the union lost its vigor and ability to negotiate with the government of the day, so much so that they have to go to organizations who ain't in government yet?
Well, the signing of the MU was done from Sir Lyndon time, from Sir Lyndon Pinland. So it's nothing new.
But Lyndon Pinland, when he signed that, he was in government.
Yeah, it is nothing new. But however, this government has signed, so far as I know, is almost 30 industrial agreements. But one of the problems we're having is honoring the industrial agreements. Now, like I said, at BTVI, we were able to sign an historical agreement. We were able to sign an agreement at BAIC, and we are now in negotiations again to sign another one. So there's quarterly meetings with the Prime Minister. There's quarterly meetings with the Minister of Labor. And so the respect, the communication, is much better. Now,
what about
is that resulting into
if it's producing anything?
To a certain degree, I'd say yes. I would tell you it's much better than what we had.
I like you.
No
I
question.
Like
it's no,
Dave,
no, I'm being fair.
You're politically correct. I like this.
Yeah,
this is good stuff.
it's much better than what we had before in terms of the communication, in terms of the respect. So. Now, like I said, all isn't well. There are some unions that are having some issues with the government living up to their commitment. But by and large, I think so far, they have done pretty well in terms of being a government that's union friendly so far.
The government has taken on this kind of position, and it has creeped out into traditional media and social media about this concept and idea that there should be bi-weekly paychecks, as opposed to the monthly ones that they actually be able to do these particular things now. Has the union taken on a position on that? I saw that there was significant pushback to say that you're changing the rhythm of things. Talk to me about that.
Well, I've heard about that. I just hope that there will be consultation with the various union leaders so that, because I remember when Atlantis did it, okay, and many hotel workers at the time were not happy about it. I don't remember what the union position was at the time. But again, see, the agreement speaks about consultation. And so anytime, and that's the problem we have now at BTVI with the President Davis, Linda Davis at BTVI. Changes are being made that impact on our members negatively to the point where they feel like we sell out, And so once there's consultation with
that's what they're saying to you?
Yeah, that's how they feel.
You care to talk about it just a little piece?
Well, first of all, the workers at BTVI were enjoying a 2 weeks Christmas paid vacation.
Jesus.
And that was changed.
This sounds like a problem for me too.
Without consultation with the union. You cannot just arbitrarily by yourself change something that an employee or our members been enjoying for years. You make your plans to travel with your family or whatever you decide to do in that time, and to just change it without consultation with the union or any agreement with the union, that is just disrespectful and wrong.
Have you been appraised of this prior to the decision being made? Was there a letter that's sent with formality that said this is the course that we seek to take? None of that? They just decided to do it.
It appears as if the decision was made and then the letter was sent out.
Now, let me ask you this question.
And also, before you go, Howard, we also have a concern. We want our members to have stability in terms of work. Many of our members are on contract.
Yeah.
And we have a problem with that. Their contract, 3-year contract, some of them have been there 10, 15 years. And so we would have written a letter to the Minister of Education, Ms. Glenasana Martin, and we're going to be agitating for our workers to be made permanent so they can go into the bank and get a loan or buy a house or whatever they need.
But okay, Dave, here's my guy. I want to talk with you and I want to be straight with you because that's what we do here at the foundation. We know a lot of these contracts as a result of payment for commitment to political campaigns. Let's be decent. Now, you ain't going to say that that's in your position. But I know firsthand that contracts were given to persons to work as janitors in certain institutions, whether that be TVI, whether that's a high school, so forth and so on, some of them on that contract for years. We know that there are people who are still on the government 52-week program, 7 years, 10 years later. Amen? Okay, we know these things. And if we can't find formality in that space, then we want to come back to the union again. What is your agitation in these particular positions? Why not being able to take on a very strong position and state we have 28 persons in this sector that don't have these formalities? There's an expectation that we get this done by boom, 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 boom. Have you taken that course?
Listen, I'll say this. We have in our industrial agreement, and for example, if you go to work to be TVI, you have a 6-month probationary period. And I'm not going to be deaf to what you just said. I know of what you're saying, but
the contract is for 6 months.
But what I'm saying to you is, when a person is seeking a job and they're on a probationary period, that is the time where management will look at that person's work ethics to see if that person will be someone that can work in their establishment or their institution. And so what we're saying is, at the end of the probationary period, a decision has to be made. So once you make the decision has to be made to either make that worker permanent or discontinue them from work. And they also have a choice too, if they don't want to work at the end of that 6-month period, if they don't want to work at that institution or that business. So we go on by the guideline, which is the industrial agreement.
I like this.
Now, there are not everybody in that same situation who probably got hired through political connections.
No.
You know, there are persons who generally are being stifled by management who is spiting them by, for whatever reason, not
this
looking to
approach-
make them permanent, just keep put them on contract to contract.
That's what I tried to tell you. This approach puts everyone, no matter how you get it, you in the same bucket with these people. And as you look at that and try to make a determination, because you may have been committing yourself to these things, but if the nature, the culture, the rhythm of what's happening in these particular institutions is to give you a 6 months contract and then don't give you the job and then come back and give you another 6 months contract and then come back, don't give you the job. So you will relentlessly and forever, will forever be on
That's
probation.
why we're saying, Howard, it's a 6-month period. After that 6 months, you make me permanent. That's how I got hired at Atlantis. It was 3 months. After 3 months, they said, Mr. Beckford, we like you. You seem to be a good worker. You will be an asset to our company. And you hired me. I worked there for 26 years. All right. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. But at the end of the day, you know.
How does a union seek to remedy that? How do you? Because there are people are listening right now. Security
Well,
officers.
we can't do it on our own.
What do you need?
The union don't own. We don't own BTVI or own any.
No, but what you do is you own the labor.
Yeah.
You have the power to move the labor in one direction or another. And this is not threatening industrial action, but this is saying to you, how do you now make aware, how do you make your members aware that this is an infraction that's happening against the Constitution, against the bylaws, against the rules and regulations? Should they write letters in to leadership? Should they meetings? What should happen so leadership could be pressured to say, hey, listen, we got to be able to fix this particular thing?
Well, however, the question is, I mean, let's look at it. Let's be real. How do you stop it? How do you stop political interference?
Don't sign a meeting.
Political hiring.
Don't sign an agreement with the PLP when they're the government.
And a lot of times you don't even know. You know.
But that's the issue. You know, I've watched a lot of movies, read some books, and started to talk about what we call people is called genie. It's called the jinn or gypsy. And they always tell you about this kind of an idea of when you make a wish, right? There's always a caveat behind the wish. The fella, I wish for $100. I want $1 million. 1 million there fall up, show up in the police. There's always a caveat behind these things. So I only say that to say, how do you safeguard your members?
I understand. And
Because
again, like I said earlier, I think, when I started working at Atlantis, it wasn't any officer that encouraged me to join the union. It was members who actually said, hey, after you have a probationary period and you become permanent, join the union. That's how strong the union was then. You didn't even have to wait for an officer of the union or a shop.
They coming to you.
It just come to you. I think we need to be more forceful. We need to educate. We need to have more meetings and let our members
I agree
know.
with you. I believe that this
Because
sentiment,
a union is only as strong as its members.
this sentiment should exist across the board with all unions.
Yeah, I believe that.
Every single union in this country.
Howard, I want to touch on livable wage because, the team for Labor Day.
I got to be able to touch that with you.
Workers United to
You
achieve
give me
livable
2 seconds, though. I got to take a commercial break. You're with me until 1 o'clock. So let me take this quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen, and get back here with Dave Beckford and none other than Brian Smith being able to talk to us about the Bahamas General Workers Union and talk about these issues of being able to move forward. When we get back, we're going to talk about livable wage, and there's going to be a clarion call for all y'all wavery people, right? Y'all out there distant, to come back into the union. We can do that when we get back after this.
Foundation. Foundation.
Try to rest, roll with the best. For all your printing needs, there ain't no one better, no. For posters and banners, magazines and flyers. For window decals, greeting cards and newsletters. No job too big and there's no job too small. You name it, we can print it. Just give us a call. Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
Here's to the go-getters and the late-night dreamers. You, the visionaries, painting futures in your mind, in your studio, your office, your sacred space. Here's to the adventurers, explorers of every realm. To you, the innovators, turning the cogs of progress. In a world where connection is a lifeline, a pathway to possibilities. Alive is the perfect connection for everyone, every lifestyle, every day.
Visit BeAlive.com today.
Now let me see now. 326 ETIC. Hello? This Epic Eckerd battery. This Miss Beulah from round the corner. I hear you're selling tires now on Wolf Road too.
Praise the Lord. It's about time. I live Fox Hill and Fire Trail. It's too far.
That ain't all. They open Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Sunday and holiday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
My brother Sam, he's a hacker, and he could go right there and get fixed up.
Call us at 326 EPIC. We ship also to the Family Island.
Doctors Hospital has reimagined primary care. We have invested to improve our health system, ensuring that accessible, affordable, world-class clinical care is closer to you. We understand that your relationship with a primary care provider shapes the foundation of your overall health. Our new modern primary care facilities are where critical diagnoses and true personalized treatment begins. With locations across New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Exuma, we invite you to experience the Doctors Hospital difference. Book your next appointment at pimp.com.
It's gonna be a hot summer. Get ready for the NACAC Athletics 3rd Annual New Life Invitational as the race to Paris continues. Join us on Sunday, June 16th at the original Thomas A. Robinson National Stadium as Team Bahamas and over 170 international track and field athletes from over 18 countries compete for another chance to qualify for the Paris Olympics. Gates open at 5 p.m. Races start at 6 p.m. Don't miss the exciting individual races and relays from world champions and Olympians. Watch the epic showdowns between countries from around the world like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, the United States, Canada, Liberia, and our very own Team Bahamas as they all battle in one of their last chances to qualify for Paris. Buy your tickets today at nacacparis.com or NACACparis.com. That's the New Life Invitational, Sunday, June 16th. It's gonna be hot. You don't want to miss it.
We all know that our country's electricity infrastructure is decades old. It is breaking down, it is too expensive, and it cannot transmit clean energy. Small changes aren't enough. We are taking it all on. Upgrading and modernizing the grid, solar power, major energy reform. That's how we get to lower prices and more reliable electricity. It will not happen overnight, but it will be game-changing.
Go to newenergyera.gov.bs.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation. Foundation. The foundation.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, 96.9 FM radio. Howard Grant in your company, the foundation here with the Bahamas General Workers Union, none other than Dave Beckford, Dave Beckford and Brian Smith being able to talk to us about these things. Let me see if we can take a telephone call. Call on the line with us live. Go ahead.
Howard, how you doing?
All is well.
Boy, if only you passed the ball. Anyway.
He then texts me and say, call me, pass the ball. Go ahead.
This is for your guest, right? Unions, I think, is very intricate part of society and is very necessary for any place, but is a but factor to that, right? What do union leaders do to people that actually abuse union privileges? I'm going to give an example, right? How could union leaders with a clear conscience, right, support people on the street, coming back to work for 2 days to break the work cycle, then bringing another sick slip for another 6 months, then going back to work for another probably a day and a half, and then going for vacation? How could union leaders, even with any clear conscience in this universe, support such actions? And also, right, second thing, right, industrial accidents. I've been seeing a lot of foolishness that goes around in government agencies, right? Whereas the people slip down through a hallway and call in sick for 6 months, claim industrial accident. How is that even possible? Was the floor made of steel? You think I'm from certain things I just don't support. And then we as people, we are actually paying for these people to be off from work.
I appreciate your call, my brother. I can put it on the table and let them answer it right now. Thank you so very kindly. Go ahead.
First of all, thanks, caller, for your call. We have a saying, you can't be wrong and strong. I mean, it's also the union responsibility to encourage its members to follow the rules and regulation and not to abuse the benefits that they have. And we know how we go as people. A lot of times we abuse the sick benefit. And so we try to discourage our members from doing that, because at the end of the day, you're going to get one in slip, and once you accumulate 4, then management has the right to terminate you, and there's really nothing.
It's two verbal. It's 2 verbal warning and 3 written.
Yeah. So
that's
I mean,
5.
so at the end of the day,
I know these things.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like I said, while you have a union to represent you, eventually, if you keep breaching the contract by not doing.
But they know them employees, though.
Yeah, and then secondly, in industrial accident, there has to be an investigation. Industrial accident and sick benefit are separate. So if you suffer an industrial accident in a job, that does not count against your sick time. But there is a process for that. I think there's even an extension based on your injury, based on the recommendation from the doctor. That has to be presented. So if you suffer an industrial accident job, there's a process to that. And there's a percentage that is paid by your employer and NIB.
What's the percentage? What's the split?
The split, I think, is 3%. I can't remember the exact percentage.
Okay, no problem.
But anyhow, the both employer and NIB, the percentage that they pay, that will equate to your salary.
Okay.
Actually, but there's a process.
But it's a reduced salary.
Yeah, it's a reduced salary. Yeah, okay. And like I said, I know in our agreement, once an industrial accident takes place, first have to report it to a shop store, to the union. So we must also be informed of that incident to ensure that management do the proper process for that individual, unfortunately, when industrial accidents happen.
Tell me about this livable wage now. We started to have this kind of a conversation before we went out there. Most recently, governments, they boast and brag about the fact that they have increased minimum wage to a position where we could just barely break the surface of being poor, right? So if that, right, we may just be right under the sheet of being poor. You know what I'm saying? Working poor people, right? That's what it is. That's all it is. We working poor. No, baby, we can't drink milk. Have to drink cream.
Trying to make $1 to 50 cents.
This is it, right? And then simultaneously, everything else go up around you. However, there has been in recent times, I want to say over the past 5 to 7 years, more specifically, we've heard an amplified voice and sort of a call out to be able to see us move to a position where there is a livable wage in this country. Talk to me about the union's position on that.
Well, first of all, I know President Obie Ferguson of the TUC as being a strong advocate for livable wage. As a matter of fact, that was the TUC theme for Labor Day, Workers United to Achieve Livable Wage. Well, a study was done by the University of the Bahamas some years ago, and they said that the minimum wage should be at least $4.50. At least $4.50. So you have the F&M on one hand, government that says that they started it, and then you have the Progressive Liberal Party who said that they're the ones who keep increasing it. And I think this administration has increased the minimum wage since coming to office. And I think that they're
it's $250 a week now, right? Correct?
Now,
$260.
Yeah.
My God, the $10 is important.
So I'll be the first to admit that with inflation, and especially since the pandemic, the cost of living has been sky high, that it's basically impossible to live off $250 a week. That's why, for me, as an example,
you say that, and there are members, there are people that are listening to you right now.
Yeah,
there are same people who you're advocating for who got those contracts.
Right.
They ain't making $300 a week.
Right. So
they ain't making it.
Yeah. So that's why when we in negotiations, part of our strongest point is when it comes to wages. But again, on one hand, you can compliment the government for increasing it, but the reality is that it's still very, very hard. For example, a single mother, 2 or 3 kids have to pay rent bills, etc. So it's hard. And so for me, that's why I can speak personally for me. Even when I worked at the Lattice, I did what I can on the side as a landscaper and as an entertainer, as a disc jockey. And so as a result, when my time ended at the Lattice, that's what I was able to fall on. I was always involved with union, and I'm happy to be vice president of General Workers Union. And I can say this publicly, we don't even receive a salary. We get a stipend, okay, because we are a very small union. So I am not even, being properly compensated, or officers of the General Workers Union are not even being compensated for this, for what we are doing. So again, the reality is it's hard. It's a challenge, but we're going to continue. I know that Mr. Obie Ferguson, the TUC, and the union, we're going to continue to agitate for livable wages. That's all we can do.
I want to ask you about your strategy and the approach, how you are really being able to pitch these concepts to whatever government or even political organizations that not are in government just yet, about how we can find our way to livable wage. Let me tell you why. It's not enough. Okay, this is what I found out in this country. It's not enough to say you should do something to people in leadership. They need to see a plan of how to do this. Because they'll hit you with the platitudes all day. Yeah, man, that's a good idea, man. I like that, right? But if they don't know a strategic plan, step by step, how to get to this, how there'll be sustainability, how we can be able to see the offset. If there's not a plan that's presented to them, it's going to be difficult for them to say livable wage is even possible without these steps. That's why I always commend Belinda, because Belinda will, if she cuss you out, she cuss you right out, but she's providing you with all of the information step by step of how these particular things could be done. And that's very important also, Right, guys, let me take a telephone call. Guys, 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, anywhere for the Family of Islands, 242-300-5720, or you can hit me up, 422-4796. Caller on the line with us live. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Howard Grant.
Hey, what's up, 52? What's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question, and I'll state a personal experience. I was here talking about the 52 weeks program, and people have subsequently worked for years. So is this a tactic to break the union membership numbers? Because the person on the 52-week program, are they unionized?
No.
All right, that's what I'm saying. So for me, that's a no-brainer. That's a strategy. Now, as it relates to the industrial accident, I said, thank God I ain't waiting for nobody. Howard, back in, this would be in 2001, 2000, I fell out of a ceiling in Holy Cross. I don't know if the church cursed or I was, right? But I was just a little joke, but I was doing a distribution file and looking up a big AC unit for the church. So now this has to be the company when I was sent into an area that is very darkened. I was in the ceiling, and I came through some inferior type quality ceiling that they had. I really had no idea. I thought it was concrete because it was sprayed with bubbles, and I had no idea. The lighting was poor, etc. So nothing was anticipated on the part of my employer. I came to the ceiling, fell down, and I ended up on my butt. But I think I damaged my pelvis. And so I went to the doctor, national insurance and everything. They paid me well. But what happens is, and I want him to answer this question, because now what happens is I went to Dr. Barnett somewhere up there on the hill on Nassau Street. They did a review, and I opened up the envelope and read the diagnosis. And it was talking about later on in life, I'll have osteoarthritis. In this area. And so what I notice is when I sit with my knee above my pelvis, I get a pain, or if I sleep in a certain way. So now I was close to 50 by that time, 40 something, I guess. But what I'm saying is, what I realize is after 10 years, there's no financial support altogether from national insurance. Like, for some reason, initially, correct me because I used to read the union book. An industrial accident, if according to how much you was incapacitated or whatever, industrial accident happened on the job, they were supposed to be responsible for the rest of your life. Somebody keep a paradigm in which 10 years and then that's it. So then you would have to write a letter to national insurance for extended medical benefits. I wrote a letter to national insurance for extended medical benefits and never gotten a response. And I know that the problem I have now is the result of this fall. So, this is why I'm glad I can't wait because I was hurt on this job, and it really was not my fault. So, Howard, do me a favor. See if you could get me in contact with your cousin Elliot, because I want a job. I want to be a ganjapreneur with RX, right, with your boy when he opened up this dispensary. But I'm sure I ain't get hurt on no one job because we can't do nobody nothing. Give thanks.
I appreciate you, man. I didn't listen to you right now. Go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I don't know of you suffering an industrial accident and I be taking care of you.
For life.
For the life.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that.
I know that you may get some sort of disability assistance if you are unable to work and you're not retirement age. Then you probably have to be referred to somebody at NIB for that.
But Howard, I think I don't know how much we learned, after the pandemic, because during the pandemic when the tourism industry basically came to a stop.
The F&M touts about how they are the best in the world.
People had to improvise and find ways of how to survive.
The Prime Minister stated that it could have been worse. The former Prime Minister stated that it could have been worse. That we didn't fire Bahamas Air. We didn't fire no government employee. Everyone was receiving a check during this particular time. In fact, if you were a taxi driver and you never pay your bills, we gave you a check. So talk to me about this.
Well, I think some decisions that were made were good and some did not. That travel visa, I did not disagree. I did not agree with that. I traveled twice during the pandemic, and I think just like it was important for you to show a negative or a positive COVID test, I didn't know why I had to pay to come back into my own country. I think most Bahamians had a problem in those last minute that caused people to go crazy and out of control and desperate. And so a lot of decisions that were made during the pandemic, people realize, yeah, it was unprecedented, but the decisions that were made, and as a result, as you see, the former prime minister was not reelected. And so most Bahamians feel like there were some bad decisions made during the pandemic.
But has the union sat down? Has your union had conversations that happened throughout the body of industrial unions in the country that says we need to be able to identify an approach that in the event that this happens again, that in the event that any of these particular things happen, that we know how to be able to break the glass and grab hold of a plan to execute and safeguard our members in this stead?
Well, I think President Obie Ferguson have always put a position to have a, I forget the name of that fund, a national fund. But how do we fund it? I hear you talking about how...
The Sovereign Fund?
Yeah.
The Sovereign
Fund is one of those, but you were talking about how many tourists, how much millions of tourists come here.
9.6 million tourists.
And if we can get
$1
from each one of them.
And put that in,
you know.
We got money that we can lean on.
Saying, so
$1.
There has to be vision and job creation.
I said there has to be, but that vision, and this is what the conversation started off with today. The vision can not only be expected to be able to come from government and leadership.
Right,
We
right.
change these people all the time.
Yep.
Some of y'all gonna have your job far longer than them. You understand what I'm saying? And so because the frequency of how governments move or political leadership happens within organizations and in government, there needs to be a leaning on intelligentsia that exists in the private sector, that exists in the union, that exists in these other areas that can lend to, okay, this is how the country needs to move going forward. There got to be some ideas that putting on the table that people could be able to sink their teeth into and say, my God, this is a good idea. Let's pour into that. It ain't enough to have a national development plan that's identified by certain persons, not all, right? You get some FNMs, you get some PLPs, you get some independents, but the nature of government is stop, review, and cancel. How do you fix that? A national development plan could still be enacted by unions. Talk to me about it.
I agree. The thing is, we hear about the national development plan, and that's a lot of time it's here. We don't see execution of it. All right. So far, like I said, this government, the Davis administration, has seemed to be union friendly. Unemployment is at its lowest in a while. I know the Honorable Pia Glover. There's a lot of job fairs that she puts on.
Dave,
so
I'm
you
gonna
know,
be decent with you.
yeah. So
I never talk like this. These people didn't know, but I can get into something only because you're here today.
Yeah.
Those numbers may not necessarily be as transparent as they need to be. As I say this,
Right.
Howard, what do you mean? If people are being identified as employed, but they're not permanent, they're not pensionable, they are on a 6 months contract from year to year, then the numbers are skewed. The numbers aren't consistent with what we've identified historically to be employed. You know what I'm saying?
That's an excellent point you make, and I agree with you that
How many persons?
If I am hired for 6 months, and that is put in the category, or we now talk about how unemployment is low, and you're using that 6 month program or however short period of time that I am working, it's not a permanent job. In 6 months' time, I could be out of a job.
Okay, so let me tell you this. What happened in Freeport when I was in Grand Bahama. When the 52-week program came out in Grand Bahama, I was one of the trainers. Okay, it was 7 to 8 trainers across the country. I was one of the trainers. I trained about 200 people every single week to get into this program. Over the course of, I don't know, maybe about 8 weeks, we trained all these people. We showed them soft skills, hard skills. We introduced them to this.
Right.
People were firing. This I'm not asking you. I'm telling you what happened in Grand Bahama. People were firing from an official standpoint their employees and asking me to hire them in a 52-week program and send them back to their job. But these are people who are now identified as employed. We have to identify these things. Why is I can't fight the government? You can't say a person is employed when you give them a 6-week contract to cut grass. That is not employment. That is only a contractual agreement to be able to execute within this, and you can't even take care of your back pay bills. And the bills were coming forward, you can't do that. You understand what I'm saying? I just want to be decent as I say these things. How do we fix that? How do we go to the government and say this can no longer happen to the people of the Bahamas? That we still, okay, so unemployment up and the line at social services double. How? It's almost impossible. It's not to say that the people of the Bahamas are relentlessly dependent and trying to thief from the government. They need this. You know, Bahamian people got pride. We're not going to stand on our line if we need to be there. So I'm only saying that to say to you, these are some of the areas and the issues for advocacy. Let me tell you why. I want to say this and then I'm going to let you guys wrap up on your show and being able to do this. I think I got one more commercial break. The one thing that actually stood out to me during this particular time of listening to Michael Pintard speak about what his expectations are as he moves towards the next general election is indicating that he's looking for a strike force. Now, what a strike force is that there was a group of people that goes with you and advocates and agitates with you. Was it Michael? No. It was Ellsworth Johnson, right? Ellsworth Johnson. Now, what a strike force is that there are 50 people, 100 people who are dedicated to you. That anytime you say, let's go on Bay Street, 100 people come, boom. Let's go here, boom. These people show up to advocate for these particular things and putting pressure on political powers, putting pressure on leadership positions in the country to be able to move away from a position. Does the union have these quote unquote strike forces that you can be able to show up, even if these people ain't a part of their specific union, show up, agitate, advocate, and see some change happen in this particular space?
Howard, I can't answer that.
I know you can't answer that. But I had to put it on the table. I know you can't answer that.
I can't answer
I got to be decent with you and do about these things. I really appreciate this opportunity and this time to be able to speak with you. I want to let you know that I like how you're starting to talk about the industrial agreement. I like how you start to talk about the strength of the union and not being able to be revived. I like how you start to talk about the need for education and livable wage. But I want to be able to encourage you and all those union members out there that it cannot be enough to agitate with your words. We now have to put this on a white paper. We now have to put this to committee. We now have to be able to find a way to matriculate, to get this in somebody, member of parliament hand, to agitate in the House of Assembly so we could be able to change these particular positions. Talk to me. That making sense?
Well, yes, sir. Two points I want to make, too, in regards to the hotel union and its members. An agreement was finally signed, and a lump sum was paid out, I understand, of $2,500. I think it was unfair that only the members that were still employed were able to get that.
$2,500 per employee?
Yes.
Okay, so which agreement this was? Which agreement was signed?
This is the agreement with the hotel union and Atlantis and all those properties that are under that agreement. Those persons.
So if you weren't a part of the union, you ain't get nothing?
If you were made redundant, you didn't get anything. If you retired, say, maybe 3-4 months before that agreement was signed, you didn't get anything.
But you would have worked under.
Exactly, exactly. And I thought that should have not happened. And also the discontinuation of the bus service for hotel workers. I was wondering about that. I think that was a failure of the union.
But these are companies who pinching pennies now.
But it's a 24-hour industry. As we know, we don't have an efficient bus service that takes you anywhere in Nassau.
Not for 24 hours.
You know, exactly.
Your luck suck after 6:44.
Even in the day.
6:44, that's it, you're done. We close, buddy.
And so I thought the discontinuation of that bus service for hotel workers was a sad day for hotel workers.
How do we get it back?
Well, the union, the leadership, Mr. Darren Woods was the president, he has to agitate to get it back. Because it's a benefit. Thomas Bastian, great trade unionist and former president of the hotel union, who is deceased now, God bless his soul. I mean, he fought for those the benefits like that. I think that's a disadvantage because when
This was
if
when
you don't come to work on time, what's gonna happen, right?
But there was civility between union and the hotel at this time. There was civility and a clear understanding of decency. Now it's penny pinching and every man for himself.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so this is why we need to see an amplified union agitating for these things. Let me see if we can
Yes.
take one more call. Caller on the line with us live. Go ahead. Is a caller on the line?
Okay.
Caller on the line? No, there's no call on the line.
Right.
I'm going to let you wrap up. Tell me about these things and what we could expect from the union. Tell me about when you're having educational forums, how persons could be able to learn more about the union, how they could be able to do these things. You all need to open up your own podcast.
Well, Howard, I agree with what you're saying, and I
Kick off your own podcast.
Mr. Obi Ferguson, President of Trade Union Congress, has some plans as related to the same things that we're talking about now. And of course, the General Workers Union, we will continue to support education of our members, having rallies, whatever it takes to get our members rejuvenated, to make them understand.
Rejuvenation is important. People need to be educated.
It is very important. But I also want to send a strong message to the president of BTVI that, we are not happy about what is happening at BTVI. And we're going to have to do some things.
Yeah, people need to go on
We have to do
vacation.
what we have to do.
Yeah.
We're not happy at then. And
I like how union people say that.
yeah.
We're going to have to do what we have to do.
We have to do what we have
We
to
know
do.
we can shut the whole place. Anyway, let's be decent. Let me see what you think. It's a call. That's a call. Call on the line with us live. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Howard.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Just want to make a little input in reference to the union leader that you have in house.
Mm-hmm.
What happened over the past 3 years? These union leaders have slept in the bed with the government, and you need to be honest with the Bahamian people. They made an agreement with the government that they would not have no kind of strike in this country for 3 consecutive years. So no matter what the government do, the government get carte blanche from them. Unlike when Thomas Bastien and them was in government, they fought for the Bahamian people. These jokers, them here, they fought more for the politicians. That's where the problem is in this country right now. Okay? So we got to get it right. Politics plays a very important part to everything that you see going on in this country. Nobody's standing up and nobody's speaking out. That's where the problem is, Howard.
I like this. I like it.
They're jokers, okay? They're jokers.
My God. I appreciate your telephone call, my brother. In your face, these people right there. See, I just want to say,
he has
the
the right.
people
He
you
has
get-
the right to his opinion.
They're
I
just trying to
dis-
give you
I
the
disagree.
decorum, right? You disagree.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he hitting you with the switch that don't necessarily belong to you.
Yeah, that's okay.
He beating you with a switch. That's a general switch. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
it's all right.
saying?
It's all good.
Everybody can get whipped with that.
Yeah.
Because there is an expectation of a caliber of strength, power, and vigor that should come from union members across the board. All right? I want to thank you so much for this opportunity,
Thank
guys.
you.
It's 2:00, ladies and gentlemen. We are out of here. You got to come back again and have a 2-hour show with me.
Yes, sir.
I'm telling you.
No
Maybe
problem.
we have a whole union week. I'll have a conversation with each union to talk about those things. I think we should do that.
Yeah. Also, I want to say that I support my colleague Kyle. I think I understand his concern as president of BPL. I know the government have some plans, but I think for Kyle and his members, they are concerned about similar to what happened at BTC.
I like it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the show today. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Smith. Yeah, say nothing, tell your wife hi or your girlfriend. You need to stop,
I
right?
want to say happy birthday to my son. His
You don't
birthday
know
is-
which one.
His
You
birthday
need to
is
stop.
tomorrow.
Okay,
My
yeah.
son, he's going to be 17. He's,
17.
he's graduating on Monday
big boy.
from C.R. Walker.
Ladies and
High
gentlemen,
School.
ladies and gentlemen, this is an exciting time. A lot of us are celebrating milestones in our life, guys. I want to be able to say congratulations to you and your son. Thank you guys again for being able to sit with me. I appreciate that. We're going to have more vigorous conversations about leadership, about vision, about the posture, about being able to rejuvenate, revive, and restore what it means to be a part of a union in the country going forward. Guys, that's the show today. Tomorrow we're going to be able to see here. Doctors Hospital is going to be in the house for the top of the hour. Second hour, we're going to be able to have great conversations. We're going to see you tomorrow, God spare, right here on The Foundation. Have a beautiful day. We'll see you guys later.
Foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation. Foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation. The foundation.